What is up, RotoBallers? I'm Pierre, the Roto Chef, here to talk about running backs for Week 13. A couple guys I think must start, and some guys to sit. At this point, it's basically who's not injured, right? I mean, what running back is healthy and will actually stay on the field? Who knows these days? But there's a couple names I think that you should think about. So let's start with a Detroit line that's not DeAndre Swift. So that's Jamaal Williams. We know Swift is out at least this coming week, probably a couple of weeks. Jamaal Williams is going to get all the touches. Okay, maybe not all, but the vast majority. When Swift went out last week early, unfortunately, with that injury, Jamaal Williams was on 74% of the team's offensive snaps, and we know what Detroit does. They like to lean on one back for the most part if possible. Swift was taking on that workhorse role. That one game, he had 33 carries. We thought he was going to be a league winner down the stretch, and of course, he's out injured. So, Jamaal Williams, I mean, won't go so far to say he's an RB1 or a week winner or a league winner by any means, but you know he's going to get a ton of touches. Look, there are already a few games where he's getting double-digit carries, even with Swift not missing a game yet this season. And Jamaal Williams, you know, is a capable receiver. The matchup is pretty good. Minnesota's defense, not great these days, unless you think that the Vikings are going to stomp all over them and that the Lions will have to abandon the run. But honestly, the Lions could have abandoned the run at any point this season. They don't do that. They try to control the game on the ground because they don't really have a passing game. So Jamaal Williams, you know he's going to get the touches. Like, the Vikings defense isn't that great, and I don't think this is going to be one of those blowout games. So I do like Williams. I think he's a solid RB2 this week based on volume alone. Let's talk about another injury replacement. So Sony Michel is probably going to be the starter because Darrell Henderson trending the wrong direction right now. He's missed the first couple of practices during the week. Even if he plays, it doesn't seem like he'll be a full go. And you want a piece of this backfield in week 13 because the Rams are taking on the Jaguars. The Rams offense, of course, has been troubled the last couple of weeks. Last week it was just garbage time that they put up points in yards, and that was Matt Stafford. But I think the running game can get going against the Jaguars. I have a feeling that they'll get something established. This is a get-right game for the Rams. Not just that they're going to win, but I think they're going to play the role of bully, which is kind of what they've done this whole season, right? They can beat up on the weaker teams and the mediocre teams, and they have shrunk against the big teams and the quality teams lately. So I think this is a game where they're going to take out their frustrations. I think Michel's going to see a ton of volume because they're going to be running the ball throughout the second half. You may have heard of a site called PFF. That's Pro Football Focus. And they have an offensive line, defensive line matchup rater. And the Rams came out second highest in terms of run percentage for their matchup basis here. Because the Rams have a pretty good offensive line, the Jaguars do not have a good defensive line. Everything points to a nice game from Michel. I think he's a solid RB2. And again, even if Henderson plays, I think you should still put Michel in your lineup. And then, I talk about the Jaguars and the Rams being the second best in terms of run domination this coming week. And guess who's first? It's going to be whoever plays the Jets. All right, no further explanation required. The Jets defense, you're going to stream any running back possible against them. So the only question in Philadelphia, who is the main running back these days? Well, it's Miles Sanders again. And I know after last week, he left with an ankle injury. Some people were worried about him. He's already come out and said publicly he's playing on Sunday. He actually practiced this week, got in a full practice. Who didn't get a full practice in at all? In fact, the first 2 days of practice, Wednesday, Thursday, no Jordan Howard. Again, looks like he's going to be out. No Boston Scott, surprisingly. He was the guy I was going to recommend. Honestly, he's the guy I love, but he's missed with a non-COVID illness. So it's possible, that he does return because he's not in any sort of protocol and he might be fine, but he's missed practice and again, might not be 100%. Who knows? But at this point, Sanders is going to be the lead back, it looks like. And Sanders, anyways, has a higher upside because you know what he's capable of based on his history. He's averaging 5.2 yards per carry. He's actually been pretty good when given the opportunity this year. And finally, this team has a healthy offensive line or committing to the run. And so he's going to get the opportunity, especially if Scott is out. And it doesn't hurt that Jalen Hurts, that is the quarterback. He's also not 100%. It looks like he's going to play, but with his ankle also kind of banged up, he might not be running as much as possible. So Sanders, this could could be one of his signature blow-up games that he hasn't had yet this year, honestly, where he rips off these huge runs and puts up monster stats before the next week going to 20 yards. But this is the week to do it. It's the Jets. So Sanders, if you do have him, definitely roll him out. And you know what? If Scott does play, I kind of don't mind Scott still either. I just don't love him as much as I did when he was missing practice earlier. Now here's a surprising one. James Robinson, again, great player, bad situation, bad team. And I already talked about this is a bad matchup. So on the flip side here, the second lowest in terms of run percentage, win rate, probability for offensive line versus defensive line. We know the Rams have a defensive line that's fairly good. Guys like Aaron Donald. And the Jaguars have nobody. So James Robinson, he's still been pretty effective lately. So honestly, it's not about him at all. It's just this offense somehow keeps getting worse. It's a game where you figure the game script, as I mentioned, is going to be so negative, they're going to be forced to abandon the run in the second half. I just don't have high hopes here. I mean, without a touchdown, I don't think you're looking at very much. Hard to say that he's an absolute must-sit across every fantasy format, just because, I mean, how many running backs do we still have that are healthy that you can trust these days? But again, I'd rather take a shot on one of those guys I've already talked about with higher upside. So for me, Robinson, I'm definitely fading him a lot this week. And the final guy I'm fading is Rhamondre Stevenson. So we know that this duo, both Damien Harris and Rhamondre Stevenson, can be effective, but it's Buffalo, and Buffalo, yes, they have been a little up and down lately in terms of their whole team, but their defense is still rock solid. Still, technically on paper, the best defense in the league, and that includes the run defense, not just the pass defense. So I don't have high hopes for a guy like Stevenson. Look, we've seen that if it's a close game, yeah, the Patriots will be able to stick to the run. So it's not so much that I'm worried about volume. I'm just worried about effectiveness. And Stevenson as the 1B here to Harris's 1A. I don't think we're going to see anything. Again, you're really hoping, like Robinson, that he plunges into the end zone because he's not catching passes either. They have Brandon Bolden. They have a few receivers who can do that near the line of scrimmage. So Stevenson, I mean, his ceiling is very low this week. I would avoid him at all costs. All right, those are my picks for running back week 13. Hopefully this helps you out. Good luck, guys. Fantasy playoffs are just around the corner. Do whatever it takes to win. And of course, that includes checking out RotoBaller.com all weekend long for our updated rankings and articles. Check them out and you won't be sorry.